Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Fastest Podcast, a summer break edition of the Fastest Podcast, but some things, they never change. First of all, my guests. We welcome back from Madeira, who is hopefully not burning any peas on his return. It is a one Mr. Daniel.
Hello.
And, of course, the man who has been in a lot of podcasts recently and is your top 10 champion, it's the Mr. Pigeon.
Hello, everyone around the world.
How are we both? It's been, I think, 3 days without F1. How are we feeling? Are we missing it?
I'm seriously crashing. I need some dose of F1 pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good 3 weeks to go, so hang tight.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we have had a big change in this year, drivers, a lot of teams, they changed up their driver lineup. Some experienced drivers going from one team to another. Ocon were going to Haas. But we've also had a lot of rookies joining the grid, as you know. We've had Antonelli, Hadjar, Bortoletto, Bearman, and then two in Alpine, with Duhan starting the season and Colapinto taking over. That was a controversy in itself. And then, of course, Lawson, rookie, depends how you view him, in the Red Bull, dropping back off to the V-Carb team. So we'll start off with Antonelli. We'll come to you, Dan, as you've just come back from Madeira. Antonelli, how's his season been? First debut season and with the Mercedes as well.
Yeah, I mean, he started off strong. He was scoring points. He was propping Mercedes up in the top two of the Constructors' Championship. And then, not his fault. Imola, Barcelona, he had reliability issues. But ever since sort of that race in Imola, he didn't qualify well. And in Europe, he just hasn't seemed to be on the pace as much. I think Budapest was the first point he scored in Europe, which I find staggering because I rate Antonelli as a driver. Toto Wolff actually came out though after Hungary, and he said the upgrades in Imola has hampered the car. We can see that with Russell as well. Yeah. His results have also dropped off. Barring Canada, where they were both on the podium, that was the sort of anomaly there. But overall, I think Antonelli has shown, flashes of pace, that he can be a good racer. I remember back to Bahrain, where I think he took Verstappen on the outside of turn 10, or switched back on Verstappen at turn 10. I was thinking that was a really good move. And, yes, he's going through a bad run and confidence is probably low. Some of that is to do with the car. But, I think he's had a solid start so far.
I think the case of Antonelli is a perfect representation of how tight the field is this year. You saw in the first few races, everyone was still getting to grips with their new cars, with their new teams, and the field was spread a little bit. And then when you get to Europe, it's tracks that everyone knows, everyone's comfortable at, aside from the rookies who haven't driven an F1 car on those tracks before. And then you see that doesn't matter how close you are, if it's a few hundreds or a few tenths, you're always going to be in those bottom 5 or 10 because the field is so close. I think that in Hungary or in Belgium, Antonelli was only 3/10 off Russell. Russell was P5, and 3/10 is the difference between P10 and P20 nowadays. That's just how close it is. You see Q1 being separated by a second, for the ones who are struggling, who are having a little bit less confidence in the car, it's just magnified. And then for a case of Antonelli, you just see that he's Q1 exits, and then taking that into the race. You can't overtake nowadays. That just piles up, and it must be difficult for the rookie. And Hamilton's come out and said there's a lot of respect for Antonelli at that age with that amount of pace. And just keeping his head down and just still doing the weekends. You can only praise him, but it is pretty clear representation of how competitive the field is nowadays.
Yeah, I think you have both hit the nail on the head. it is obviously a very close field. You see that in the gaps in timings in Q1, Q2, Q3. The drivers who are battling in the race, but also in the race is difficult to overtake. So you have a kind of different element in that as well. Obviously, as Dan said, you've got kind of issues that weren't his fault that play a factor in it. Then the car has changed, and that's had some sort of an issue to Antonelli. But I think he's done very well in terms of he's come into the car as a 17-year-old driver into one of the top 3 teams on the grid, uh, and he's driven it incredibly well. He's got results out of it. He's got P4, P5. He's done well in qualifying. He's got on the podium as well this season. And a little crisis in confidence as a 17-year-old isn't going to knock him back too far. I think he's still going to come back. He's going to hopefully turn around after the summer break or when this Mercedes car picks itself up again and they find a solution to the problems that they've got. And I have no doubt he's going to win a race. If not this season, it will be very soon. It'll be the start of next season, maybe, with Mercedes potentially having the quickest car. But I think Antonelli as a driver is very complete. He's brave, he's quick, and it's exactly what you'd want from a young driver in your team.
Yeah, we see a lot of rookies nowadays, anyways. But I think Antonelli is one that shows a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Even in Miami, youngest pole sitter in any format. Those are the kind of things that set you apart from the competition. Those are the things that you will take throughout your career. I can only say I'm excited for whatever he's going to do next. Mercedes might not have the car this year for competitiveness compared to the McLarens, but you do see that he has that pace to keep up with the top 8 at least, and that's good to see nowadays.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people forget, and you see it all over kind of social media a lot of the time, with people saying Antonelli isn't ready, he shouldn't have the car or the drive anymore, he should never have been given it. People forget that the team have a lot of the telemetry that we will never see, and they'll see how quick he really is. And I don't know if any of you remember, or anyone watching will remember, back in Monza it was, in last season actually, in his practice 1 session, and he ended up at the end of the weekend having better and faster cornering speeds than any of the other drivers across the weekend, including the drivers in qualifying. So it shows he's clearly in some form, and we've seen in the season ready for that seat.
Yeah, I also think it's a bit unfair for Antonelli coming in and replacing Lewis Hamilton, and all of a sudden everyone expects him to be right at the top, on Russell's pace. Russell's had 7 years experience. Now Antonelli's just come in. He is replacing a 7-time world champion. And I think people just need to lower their expectations of him just a little bit, in his rookie season.
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously, like you said, he has gone in, replaced Lewis Hamilton, expected to go and win races from the start, and it's not realistic. He's done well for what he's done. He's got a podium and he's got a pole position in a sprint race, which is already more than most rookies would do in their first season. But then you look at Lewis Hamilton's first season, he went and won however many races, came second in the championship. He was just incredible, and that has never been seen again in a debut season, and I don't think we ever will see it again unless someone special comes along. So for Antonelli to do what he's done and get a podium and a pole position in his debut season in a car that isn't the quickest, it does show his talent.
I think we were a little bit spoiled last year with the competitiveness of the top 4 teams. When you look at how close the top 4 were, especially in the latter stages of the season, if you were the best of your team at any given day, you could fight for a win. You saw that with Sainz in Mexico, Russell in Belgium. He was, of course, disqualified, but then Hamilton was so close again. This season, if you're better than your teammate, it does not warrant a podium. It could just warrant a P6 because the team is so close and McLaren is so far ahead of the rest. I think Antonelli is doing very well. You can't expect him to keep up with Russell. Russell is the only one who has beaten Hamilton over a season, I think, in the past 10 years, bar Rosberg, of course.
Yeah.
You cannot expect Antonelli to be at that level at his age, especially in this field, because that's just crazy. But he is showing that he has the potential to win races consistently. He's just had a little bit of bad luck and not enough experience to deal with it the right way, maybe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I do hope after the summer break he'll come back and he'll be back to his sort of how he was at the start of the season. Maybe the car will be fixed or whatever Mercedes can do or Anthony can do himself. I do hope that he'll come back and he'll be the same driver we saw in the first sort of 5 or 6 rounds of the season. So, anything to add on Anthony, Dan? No. So we'll go from, unfortunately for Alpine, we'll go from one end of the grid to the other. We're not talking about one rookie here. We're talking about 2. Jack Doohan and Franco Colapinto. Obviously, Doohan started the season, had, I believe it was, 6 races at the start of the season. He was then replaced rather brutally, I feel, with Colapinto. And we're obviously not forgetting Doohan did race in the season finale at Abu Dhabi last season, but in a race that kind of meant nothing. What can you really get from that? A different car as well. And then he was replaced by Colapinto, of course, after 6 races. So in terms of the 2 of them, in a comparison of what evidently is what they're doing at Alpine, is comparing the 2 young drivers, who's better, who do they want in the car, comparing them, who is better, and who should they have in the car.
I think they're both pretty much doing the same job as each other. They're bringing up the rear of the field. The Alpine's not very competitive this season. Let's just put that out there. You know, Gasly's done exceptionally well to get any points on the board. I think he's got about 20. And, you know, I do think currently the Alpine is the slowest car on the grid. But Doohan was making mistakes. You know, you look at Japan, he left the DRS open. You look, I think it was Saudi Arabia, he clashed with Lawson. You won't see any progress race by race. You go to Colapinto, and he made a great start with Williams last year, but his progress stalled. He kept binning the car, putting it in the wall. Yeah, he's not quite doing that this season, but he's just not showing any pace. He's very far off Gasly. You know, Doohan and Colapinto by far off Gasly. Gasly's a really good driver, don't get me wrong, but that they are very far behind. Gasly can get his car into Q3. We saw that in Belgium. I think he got into SQ3.
Yeah.
I just don't see a future in the sport for either driver, personally.
I have to agree with that. I think they're doing the same job. You saw, of course, Doohan had a couple of tough races, with Australia being season opener with the rain. You can't really blame him for getting the car there. But I'm literally looking at his results. It's a P13, 15, 14, 17, and a DNF in Miami, which I do think was mechanical or damage.
What was his finish for Abu Dhabi? The season before that,
17th again, I think.
Yeah,
I think that was more of a test drive, anyways.
Yeah.
And then you look at Colapinto, who has crashed the car in Silverstone qualifying. I think for Colapinto, it's more that he's crashed in the place where you don't see it as much. He's not crashed out of a race, which is important. But then again, he had couple of P13s. He had the unfortunate DNS in Silverstone. And then he did out-qualify Gasly in Hungary, actually. But, yeah, then the strategy was kind of, you know, that's the main decider of the races these days, and he finished P18. I don't think they're doing a bad job per se, because as Dan said, Alpine could be considered the worst car at the field at the moment, because Gasly is putting their car in places it does not belong, with a P6 in Belgium and points in, I think, half of the races we've done so far. And for a rookie, that must just be demotivating. Not being able to keep up and constantly being compared to a teammate who has years and years of experience, who's been at a Red Bull at some point. Yeah. With 6 rookies on the grid, I would say that they're one of the weaker ones, but yeah, who are you going to put in the car, you know?
Yeah, and that's it. I think, like you both said, it's difficult. They are the weakest car. It's a kind of a Haas complex from a few years ago when they had Mick Schumacher and Mazepin. You've got 2 rookies in the car at that point. For Schumacher, he's being compared to a 7-time world champion, which is forever going to be hard for him. But then you've got the worst car on the grid, 2 rookies. It's always going to be tough. Then for whoever's in that Alpine car, like you said, they're being compared to Pierre Gasly, who's scoring points in the worst car. So it's incredibly tough for those 2 drivers. But then while they're not necessarily doing badly, they're not necessarily doing amazingly, that they then deserving, obviously. I think if you had Colapinto in a different team, as we saw with his time at Williams, I did think there was a future in the sport for him. I think he's gone for whatever he can get now, and it's kind of brought his level of interest down a bit, and he's not really sought after from other teams anymore.
As you say, of course, with Williams last year, he had a pretty good run. And then towards the end of the season, his performance was really hampered by the fact that he just kept on crashing the car.
Yeah.
He has crashed a couple of times this year, but also today during the Hungarian test, he also crashed the car, which is a day that you do not want to wreck the car. It's about completing laps, not about completing quickly. I think for the rookies at this point, it's not about scoring points, getting on the podium, whatever. I think it's about getting experience in an F1 car and just keeping your nose clean. You know, learn how to race at the rear of the field, if that is where the car is. And just gain experience without causing damage to the team. Because that, at the end of the day, is what teams want to see. A rookie who shows potential and doesn't crash the car.
I think regarding Colapinto as well, you have to remember that Williams let him go. That they were happy for him to go, to Alpine as a reserve driver at the time as well. So for me, that's telling that, Williams didn't really see a future for him.
Well, was that they didn't see a future for Colapinto, or was that they had Carlos Sainz as an option and they already had a big plethora of young academy drivers? So maybe they looked at Colapinto and thought, he doesn't fit our plans at the moment.
Possibly, but if you were impressed by what he did in his cameo, then I think you at least keep him as your reserve driver.
Yeah.
So I think that they were happy to let him go. They've got talent in their academy, and they've got 2 brilliant drivers currently. So they were happy to let. He wasn't going to get in a Williams seat anytime soon.
Yeah, it's like you said, if they saw something in him that was good, they would have kept him on board, because you don't know if your F2 drivers are going to work out or not. So, but the question is, I suppose, one, is there any way back for Doohan and Colapinto if this doesn't work out for, Doohan it hasn't, and Colapinto it doesn't work out? Is there any way back? And the next question is, who's next?
I don't see a way back. If Colapinto is dropped by Alpine, I don't see a way back for him. You look up and down the grid, who's going to take a punt on him? I just don't see anyone who will. You look at Alpine, I reckon if they are to bring someone else in, it's going to be Paul Aaron and put another rookie in the car, but because they don't really have any other options. If they are getting rid of Colapinto, it's going to be another rookie in the grid.
Yeah, there's no one you can sign at this point who will agree to drive the Alpine car, because either you have to sign a driver that has experience in F1, and they're not going to want to, or you have another rookie who's going to struggle to get to grips with the car in time for 2026. Because we're also at the second half of 2025 at this point. If the 2026 regulations are as difficult as they are made out to be by the drivers on the sim, then you're going to want to have a rookie who has experience in F1 because, otherwise it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, and I think it's a mystery who's next. I don't think any of these two drivers are going to be able to come back from this. We don't know who's going to be next in the car, but I think whoever is next knows they've got a challenge on their hand, which is why I think a current F1 driver or a current reserve driver, I know Bottas has been mentioned very briefly, rumoured for the seat, but it won't happen. But someone on that level, they wouldn't go to it because it's a second seat now that is kind of viewed as untangible. Nobody wants it. It's tricky. The car's tricky. No one's going to want to drop down to that kind of a level, not knowing what's next, and especially if they can just be dropped in 5 races. And, it's not the only second seat on the grid that has issues, as we've seen with the next 2 drivers that, one of the drivers we'll touch on and his now current teammate. We're going to go to VCARB and we'll touch on, again, rookie Liam Lawson and Isack Hadjar. So we'll sort of start with Lawson. He obviously started with Red Bull. He had 2 races. He qualified last both times in China. He didn't have a good race at all in Australia. Did he finish Australia or?
No, he crashed out.
So yeah, he didn't finish Australia. He qualified last for both races in China. So it wasn't his time in Red Bull, and he obviously got demoted. Tsunoda got put into Red Bull. That's a completely different conversation that we've had many a time. And he is now in VCARB alongside Hadjar. So how's that going for both of them?
Well, as you say, we've had the conversation many times.
Yeah.
You're saying he didn't do well in the Red Bull. Neither is Tsunoda. He's getting closer, but he's still not getting points. He's on the longest non-point scoring streak of any second driver at Red Bull.
Well, Lawson didn't get a chance to set that beforehand.
Yeah, but still, we didn't really get a chance for him to get to grips with a car at a track that he knows. So it will always be a story of what if.
Yeah.
But regarding VCARB, he's found a rhythm. He has a couple of point-scoring finishes now. I think the only one was the Silverstone where he crashed out. Or, I don't know exactly what he did, but it was a pretty difficult race to begin with. But he's found a rhythm. He's qualifying well, he's racing well, and he's scoring points for the team. And the same goes for Hadjar. He's doing really well. I think of all the lineups that VCARB has one of the stronger cars of the midfield, especially, with a pretty strong lineup at this point. They have 2 confident drivers who are scoring points for the team. You don't see them crashing very often. So, yeah, I think at this point they are both there to stay.
Yeah, I mean, for next season, I'll put Hadjar and Lawson back in the VCARB, let them learn, let them continue developing. I think Lawson was put in far too soon. He shouldn't have been there at Red Bull at the beginning of the season. But both of them, as the season's progressed, have impressed me. Lawson, he had a difficult start in VCARB as well because he was regaining his confidence. But once he's found his feet, again, like you said, he's scoring points. Hadjar, he's been fighting he had a bad race in Hungary. But apart from that, you would say, generally, he's there or thereabouts with the points. He's always challenging, if not scoring the points. So I've been impressed with both of them as the season's gone on.
Yeah, I think Hadjar has come in and done the perfect example of what a rookie should do. He's had bad races. He's a rookie. You expect it, but he's got points. He's qualified well. He's driven well, and he's kept his nose sort of out of trouble as much as a rookie can do. As for Lawson, he's obviously dropped down from the Red Bull team after 2 races there. Before that, he had 10 races across 2 separate spells in F1. He had 5 or 6 races towards the end of last year where he showed a lot of inexperience in his racing and his racecraft, which I think should have said to a lot of people he shouldn't have that seat. He still got it. He didn't really do much with it, and I think it kind of showed he shouldn't have had it in the first place. Tsunoda's then come in and Lawson's dropped down. And I think Lawson needed more time in an F1 car to find a groove of driving before he gets put into a big team, a big car, and tries to get to grips with it. And I think whilst Tsunoda's struggling, he's probably doing better than Lawson was on at this point. But yeah, as Pitcher said, it's a big what if with Lawson. But I think as far as they go, they are probably one of the best lineups on the grid in terms of the team and the car that they've got and the points and results that they're managing to get out of it. So
I agree with that to avoid
what did happen there?
No, I mean, yeah, the season Lawson's had, he's obviously had to recover from that. He's doing as well as you would say. Yeah, he's, as I said, he's scoring points. He's not crashing the car, and that is all you can ask at this point. Yeah, I don't know anything to add further to that.
Yeah,
and especially if you then also look at what Red Bull was doing in Hungary. Both of the V carbs got into Q3, which is a good sight to see at this point. I think it's the second race in a row where they both made Q3. Red Bull was nowhere. Even Verstappen was struggling. And Tsunoda was very, very close to him. Only 1.5 tenths, and he still didn't make it out of Q1. And again, that portrays how close the field is these days. But you see both V-Carbs are still qualifying well, and they are performing. And of course, Hadjar was maybe screwed over a little bit in the race with split strategies, as I think every team was doing, splitting the strategies in Hungary.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I think only Alonso didn't really struggle. The rest of them were either trying to figure out what they wanted to do during the race, which is not a place where you should be doing that, or they just, threw a dart somewhere and just played whatever stick. So, yeah. I think, the only one who really has surprised me in Hungary was the one we haven't discussed yet.
Yeah, and they are, he is one of our next 2 drivers. So I've grouped them together because I feel like they're drivers who have done the same kind of job in their respective teams. They've done what is required of them as a rookie. They've not been amazing, but they've not been terrible. They've had good races, they've had bad races, but they've very quietly gone about their business. They've picked up points here and there. They've been okay, and that is obviously Bearman and Bortoletti. Now, aside from Hungary, which we'll touch on at the end of this little segment, these 2 drivers, how have their seasons been?
I think Bearman's has been quite average. I think he started really well. I think he scored points in 3 of his first 5 races. But I think his performances have dropped off a little bit. We're seeing a bit of inexperience, as you would expect. But overall, his racecraft has been okay. But you look at his 1-lap pace, and I think it's in qualifying where he has been letting himself down a little bit. Recently, he's picked his game up, but I think he's got the most overtakes. I think the stat most overtakes this season because his qualifying has really let him down. I do think he will come good at some point, but so far, honestly, I've been a little underwhelmed by Bearman. If you go to Bortoletti, I've actually been very impressed with him. I would stick my neck on the line saying I actually think if he can continue his form, he will be Rookie of the Season. I think he has performed really well at the beginning of the season. It was the worst car on the grid. It was awful. Hulkenberg was doing nothing with the car either. They got the upgrades in Spain, and all of a sudden, you're seeing the pace of Bortoleto. I think he scored points in 3 of the last 4 races. I would say he's the form driver in the midfield. And let's not forget, he is a back-to-back F3 and F2 champion. He's not slow. He is not slow. He's got back in from Alonso, from Verstappen, from, the top drivers on the grid. And out of all the rookies, if I was to pinpoint which one I think will go furthest, I would put my money on him personally.
That's a bold statement, but I have to agree with that one, yeah. Going first to Bearman, you see a lot of weird stats in F1. One of them was the most consecutive finishes in the same position, which Bearman has now reached, which is 4 consecutive P11 finishes, which is pretty difficult to do, I think.
Define average.
I mean,
that's that. That's four consecutive P11s. That is average.
Yeah, but you have to consider Haas is not at the top of the midfield. I think they are towards the back with, Alpine and Sauber. Or Sauber at the beginning of the season, that is. Ocon isn't doing much either. Ocon is not pulling off P5s. He did once, but Bearman is always very close to the top 10, but it's the silly mistakes that much during qualifying, as Dan said, are costing him in race weekends. But I think he does have potential. He showed that in feeder series. He showed that in the race where he's overtaking left and right. Just a bit unlucky at times, but still, I think he has potential. I also see 2 points in Belgium, which is during the sprint, I think, which is P7, which is not bad. And then you come to Bortoleto, and I've enjoyed him this season. The upgrades came for Sauber. You saw Hülkenberg fighting from P17 to P7s to P5s on a podium at Silverstone. And now you're also seeing Bortoleto, who is qualifying well. Bortoleto is actually ahead of the qualifying head-to-head this season. Out-qualified Verstappen last race, and then kept the position to finish P6. And you can only applaud him for that. It's amazing, and he followed Alonso home all the way during that race. And it's good pace to see, but it also does show that you need a car that is stable in F1 to extract pace. Because if you have a shit car like Colapinto and Doohan have, which is very hard to extract pace from, only Gasly can do it at this point, you're not going to see much from them because they just can't keep up or impress by climbing the ladders. But if you do have a stable car and you do have pace to show, like a Bearman in the race, like a Bortoleto, like Hadjar, Lawson, Antonelli has a better car altogether. But then you're noticed more. And I think Bearman's gone a little bit under the radar at times. And Bortoleto is now pulling off performances that put him way into the spotlight, which is good to see because we need that,
Is this the part where I apologise for the language used?
I'm sorry.
It's fine. At fault of kind of repeating what you guys have said, because you have literally hit the nail on the head, I'll agree with what you've said. Bearman started the season with the points finishes, great drives from, he had a P20 to P10. He hasn't qualified great, but he has raced well. And at the time, Bortoleto wasn't doing very well. People sort of looked at him and said, hey, I don't think he's going to last. And their seasons have kind of flipped. And now Bearman is sort of, I want to say struggling, but I don't know if struggling is the right word. He has got consecutive P11 finishes. He hasn't necessarily been in the points as much, but he's still racing okay. But as Dan said, it is an average season. Whereas Bortoleto has turned the season around. He's come on very well. A P6 finish in Hungary, fending off Max Verstappen, following Fernando Alonso. He's had backing for the last few years now from some of the top guys in F1. And I do think him, along with Antonelli and if Hadjar keeps up how he's going, I think we could see him in the Red Bull soon. And can he take on that second seat? Can he tame it? Who knows? I think out of those kind of rookies, those are my top 3 picks. And I think in terms of, Bearman and Bortoletto, their seasons are kind of flipped around, and Bortoletto's now the one that is taking everything and sort of getting better and better as he goes.
Again, for that Red Bull seat, do you want to be in that one? I think we're focusing more on next year at this point. But the car is a mess. We've seen that lately. I don't think Hadjar wants to go to Red Bull just yet, especially next to Verstappen, who has confirmed he will be staying.
I think Hadjar said it himself. He doesn't want the seat at the moment.
Yeah. So, we've seen it over the past 7 years.
Yeah.
You do not want to be next to Verstappen because you're going to be directly compared to him. And that's going to do a number on your mentality.
But then now we are in a new era for Red Bull with no Horner, so does the car change? Who knows? But that is definitely a conversation for a much, much different podcast, because that's a conversation that could go on for 36 minutes and 15 seconds all on its own. But there is only one way to end it. As I said at the start of the podcast, we have got the current top 10 champion with us, Pigeon.
Yeah.
And that is only due to the fact that Mr. Daniel decided to very selfishly take a holiday. So,
sorry. It could have been worse. Could have gone to Dogra, so...
Yeah, so it was actually Pigeon versus Dogra at one point, so it could have been much worse. But we are here with Pigeon, and we are here with Dan, and it is time for the 3rd instalment of Top 10. And this one's I'm quite proud of myself for this one. If I'm going to say so myself, I am. Trusty notebook is in hand, and the topic for today's Top 10, and we're going to start with Pigeon because he is the reigning champion. And if it is a draw, I have got an 11th answer on here.
I think it should go to Dan.
Oh, the champion's confident. Oh. So there is an 11th answer on here. Now, bear in mind, whoever goes first, if it's 5-all at the end, gets first crack at the 11th guess. So Dan's got the advantage going in. The top 10 topic for today is the top 10, and listen carefully, I'll explain it afterwards, the top 10 countries to have held the most Grand Prix. So I am looking for the countries that have held the most Grand Prix, and I'll specify it is the countries and not the tracks, as some countries will have held multiple Grand Prix at different tracks, and some of them could have held multiple races per season, which would count as obviously 2 races held. So take that into account. Dan, we'll start with you. 10 answers. What are you going for first?
The UK.
Of course, UK is on there. Number 1.
Monaco.
Number 3. So United Kingdom has held 76 Grand Prix as well. Monaco is number 3, has held 71 Grand Prix.
I'll say Italy.
And the top 3 is down, 75 Grand Prix for Italy. Back to Pigeon.
I said the US.
Snuck in there in 10th, 45 Grand Prix. So a lot of them coming in the last few years.
I'm going to say Spain.
Spain is number 7. 55 Grand Prix held for Spain.
Now we're getting into the difficult territory.
We are, 3-3. We have got 4 remaining.
Brazil?
Oh, great shout, Pigeon. 47 Grand Prix for Brazil. It sneaks in at number 9.
I'm going to say Belgium.
Oh, I was waiting for that. 70 Grand Prix for Belgium, yeah. It is on the list. It is number 4. So you've got 3 left, and we're over to you, Pigeon. This is for 4-4.
Oh, Jesus.
This could be the crucial one.
This is the one that's going to break me. Do we have hints for this one as well? Or? I'm just asking, not because I want the hint, but...
There is. I can give you a hint if you would like it at the moment.
I have a feeling that Japan is going to be on there.
Is Japan your final answer?
Yeah.
Japan is not on the list. No Japan, no.
I'm going to say Germany.
Germany. Dan. It's your 5th one. Germany is in at number 5 with 64 Grand Prix, which means Pigeon needs to get the next 2 to at least just draw it.
Those are tough ones, man. I'm going to ask for a hint here.
So I will get. I've got a few hints here. One of these countries, out of the 2 remaining, no longer has a track on the Formulaone calendar.
That's a good one. Australia? I mean, it has on the calendar, but is Australia on there?
Australia is not on the list. No.
I'm going to... I think this one has been on the calendar since 80. It's either 83 or 87, so I'm going to go Hungary.
Hungary
is not on the list.
Ooh.
I knew that because he said 45 was number 10. And I think this was the 39th version of it.
I won't tell you the number that Hungary was, but it did say on the weekend just gone.
Is Brazil on there?
Brazil, you've actually said Brazil, Pigeon.
Oh. I have amnesia, okay? Don't blame me.
Can't give you double points for saying the same one. He's got it. So I have got 2 more hints available for you as well.
Yeah, let's have it. One more hint.
Right, so as I mentioned previously, this one of the countries does not have a track on the calendar. The continent this country that doesn't have the track on the calendar is in Europe. So European country.
Yeah, that narrows it down.
It's in Western Europe, I'll say. So Central to Western Europe.
France.
It is France, yeah.
I didn't want it to be honest.
In 6th with 62 Grand Prix held. So there is 1 left on the list. If Pigeon gets it, we go to the tiebreak 11th answer. If Dan gets it, he wins.
Right, let's go for a hint.
A hint. Oh, I feel like the hint I can give might give it away. There is something very iconic about this track, but it is a rather unorthodox, iconic thing. And it's unique to this one track.
Not sure. I'm going to go Austria.
No.
Could I ask what number this is? The final one.
The number of races it's held, or what number?
No, like the number in the list.
It is 8th in the list.
Yeah, there can be any track, to be fair.
So the hint I'll give you as well is Spain is 7th with 55 Grand Prix held. Brazil is 9th with 47 Grand Prix held. So this track is in 8th between those two numbers.
Oh. Do the other hits still apply, or?
No, those other hints were just for France.
Oh, okay.
This track is on the calendar this year. Just going to cycle through all 24 tracks.
Picks up a list. I'm going to say Netherlands. I know it has held a couple of Grand Prix, but I don't think it's P10 worthy.
It's not on the list, unfortunately.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
So we head over.
I don't want to just delay.
Is it European?
It is not European, no. It's worth any stab. You've got 24 tracks to choose from, 24 countries, minus the ones that have already been said, of course. So you've probably got a selection of...
It's on the calendar.
Maybe you've got a selection of... Well, out of the ones here, yeah, you've got a selection of, I think it's 17 tracks to pick from.
I honestly have no idea. Bahrain. I know it's not.
It's not Bahrain. I will give the final hint out. And this is the final hint. The final hint is it is a track that we have already raced at.
Canada.
It is Canada, yes. Which means we are 5-5. However, as mentioned, Dan went first. Dan has the advantage. Number 11, Dan. What are you going?
Is it Hungary?
It is Hungary. Which means, Dan retains his title as top 10 champion. So, sorry, Pigeon.
To be fair, I only kept it warm for him. I just took it from Dogra.
Good game.
That was a good game. It was tight to the very end.
I'm surprised that Canada is what stumped you both as well. That was interesting.
I was thinking Canada, and I was thinking, nah, surely not.
I mean, it's the Gilles Villeneuve track, which does go back quite a bit.
Yeah. It's
and it is iconic. Because
it's iconic for one thing, and it's unorthodox. The
Wall of
Champions. Yeah. Most places have iconic corners. You know, Silverstone is iconic for all of its corners. And, yeah. Wall of Champions at Canada.
I think if you would have said it has one very iconic corner, it would have been a better hint than it has. It has a really weird thing.
I mean, it's not really cool enough, but
I take off my hat to you, Dan.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan has retaken his title after Pigeon just made sure Dogra couldn't have it, which has probably done us all a service. So thank you, Pigeon, and congratulations to you, Dan.
Thank you.
So, I think we'll call it there. Top 10. It went on because it was by myself such an incredible top 10 quiz today. I'll take full credit for that. So thank you, everyone.
Well done, Kieran.
Thank you very much. But we thank you very much for watching. It is a summer break now. As mentioned, we have a lot more content to come. We're going to be doing 2 podcasts a week with lots of different members of our team to get you some content out and give you your little fix of F1 while we have no cars on track. But we thank you for watching, as I mentioned. Let us know in the comments how you done on top 10 and what you think the rookie drivers have been like. How would you rate them? And who do you think is going to go furthest? I mean, Dan thinks Bottas is going to be a world champion, but he races in green and P's are green. So that's just Dan for you. If you like the video, like the podcast, make sure that you like it and subscribe to the channel with notification bell on so you don't miss any further podcasts because, as I've said, there is a lot coming. From Pigeon and from Dan, it's goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And from me, it is goodbye. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.